Well, Big East Commissioner Val Ackerman, we certainly appreciate you joining us here and your wealth of knowledge, given the fact that you were the first WNBA president. But when it comes to the Connecticut Sun, take us back to when they were that franchise in Orlando and just some of the decision making that got them to move to Connecticut.
Well, there's actually sort of a before that component to the history, and that is when the WNBA was launched. The original model provided for all of the teams to be owned by the NBA and for each of the teams to be fronted by an NBA team in that city. So essentially we didn't allow for outside ownership of the WNBA teams. And that was our model for the first couple of years. It was a successful model, but within a few years we came to know that there were parts of the country that didn't have an NBA team that very much wanted in. And Connecticut was probably at the top of the list of those places which didn't have a chance to be involved in the WNBA under this launch model, but very much wanted to be part of things. Why? Because of their tremendous support of the sport, thanks to the UConn Huskies. So I won't give you all the history, but you fast forward a couple of years post-launch and we changed the model to allow for this independent ownership of WNBA teams, and top of our list was the opportunity to put a team in Connecticut. And so when we changed the model and the word got out that we were going to begin the process of soliciting potential owners, that's where the excitement really started. We had a number of interested entities. We narrowed it down, and the ultimate winner, you could say, was the Mohegan Sun Arena, which offered a great package. And instead of giving them a new team, we were able to deliver them a relocated team in the Orlando Miracle, which was interesting because their star player, Nikisha Sales, had of course been one of the all-time greats at UConn. So those were sort of some elements that went into how this all came to be. And you know, as I said, just brought us to a point where we were able to bring women's pro basketball to one of the strongest parts of the country in terms of the support for the sport.
And being the first one, as you had mentioned, that wasn't owned by and connected with an NBA team, just how have you seen the different attributes help it to flourish and help it to continue, whether it's, you know, being in the land of the UConn Huskies, the success they've had, but just all the different things in play that have still allowed it to be successful?
It's a very different operation to be fronted by an NBA team and supported by one, and then to be run independently. Yeah. In the case of the former, the teams that have NBA support have a head start for sure. I mean, they have great operations staffs. They're playing in NBA buildings in some cases. They have existing sponsor bases that they can leverage. They might have networks on which you can put the women's basketball programming. They have fans that maybe overlap. And so that's really helpful. And that was why we started the WNBA the way we did, and why to this day there continue to be WNBA teams who are embedded in NBA team infrastructures. So it's harder to be independent, but again, in the case of Connecticut, everything else was there. They had their own infrastructure that we could look to. They were, again, in a part of the world where women's basketball didn't need to be described or sold. And in fact, I believe to this day there is an overlap between the Husky fan base and the Sun, because the fans there so love women's basketball, and when you have UConn players rolling through Mohegan Sun Arena on a regular basis, it gives the UConn fans in particular a chance to see these women that they were so passionate in following when they were student athletes. So in the case of Mohegan Sun, it really has been an ideal structure.